Welcome,
Welcome,
Housewives of True Crime.
housewives.
Margot time again.
Yes.
And I actually even just forgot the intro because I haven't recorded in so long that I
You need to
almost
tell
forgot how
everyone
to
you've been on vacay.
open the show.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I'm done vacationing for the summer. So now I've got to get my SHIT together
Mm.
and figure out how to do life again without it being summer. And so do you, because your kids are coming back to your house.
Y-
As of when this airs, you're already going to have your kiddos back.
Yes, we talked the other day and you said, "Oh, it seems like it went by so fast." And so for me, they've been gone for 5 weeks. They were with their dad, and I feel like the first 3 weeks like just dragged on forever. And then last week was kind of like regular. And then this week is just flying. Like, remember I told you I was like, oh, I was going to do this closet
Mm-hmm.
makeover, refresh thing. And now it's like Wednesday. And like this morning I woke up, worked out and like did my cut list. And so today I have to put it all together, paint it, do everything. And I'm hopeful that it'll be done by the time I go to pick them up.
Yes. Margot is a do-it-yourselfer,
Yes.
and you also like put it on your Instagram. So what's your Instagram so people could go follow you because she's really inspirational if anybody
Yeah.
wants to
So
like
my
figure out how
DIY.
to make herself. Yeah, DIY.
Yeah, so my DIY though, like it's my personal Instagram versus like my podcast Instagram, but that one is Military Margot, and so it's Military Margot, and Margot has a T at the end. But yeah, you can follow me there, and like in the 5 weeks that my girls have been gone, I feel like I haven't done much of anything. But when I look back, I'm like, okay, I did a whole bunch. I redid one entire room for my middle daughter, and so her room is like. I mean, I go in there sometimes just to like relax because it's like
Admire your work.
yes to admire my work. And so it's funny story, it used to be my gym and it has a black accent wall, and so I was going to paint that wall, but then I was like, you know what, we're going to go. I asked her and she said no, keep the black, so we went with black and pink. My grandma was completely freaking out. She
Cute.
was like, black is like too dark for a kid. And I even got her a black bed frame, like the velvety kind. And girl, the room is like a luxury. Like it's just so nice. I still can't even
Mm.
believe that it has black tones to it because I paired it with like pink and like this like salmon color. And so it's so cute.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Awesome.
I redid the baby's room. I redid like the whole wallpaper. So I have like 1/3 of the room is wallpaper from the ceiling to 1/3 down. And the wallpaper I had put last year started to shrink and I just didn't prep the wall appropriately. So this go around, I ripped that off. I prepped the wall. Like I did all like I chat GPT'd it and I Googled it just to make sure I knew how to prep the wall so that the wallpaper would like stay put. And so I put that up and it looks so nice. And then I got her a pink frame. And then for my oldest daughter, who's had a room by herself this whole time, I ended up putting a hammock. I did it, girl. I did it. I put the chair hammock up.
Oh. Oh yeah, good. I
It
got a chair hammock and my daughter has a chair hammock too. It's so cute.
Yes, it actually is really cute. Like at first I was like, this is gonna be crazy. So I'm gonna have to give them a safety briefing when they come home because it's like by the window. And so it actually has like that wooden bar across the top to make it more comfortable, right? And so it's like a chair just for kind of like slow hammocking, right? It's not like a swing that you're just like gonna make your siblings fly. So I have to let them know so that they don't like crack the window.
Yeah.
Wish me luck.
Yeah, fun. Um, all right. You are telling the story today, which is
Girl,
so exciting because I don't
yes.
even know anything about it.
I don't even think I've told you the name. And so I've been trying to
No.
hunt you down to tell you this story. And I mean, this story shocked me. And by the way, shout out to my grandma because she was the one that recommended it to me.
Oh, shout out Granny.
Yeah.
And by the way, your grandma's like young, so not even a granny.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? So my parents had me when they were teenagers, still in high school, and so my grandma was relatively young as well. Like she was like 40 when I was born, and so it's funny to see a picture of my grandma when I was a newborn, and to see myself because my grandma like already had like white hair, like she used to wear those like muumuus and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, so you're like, I'm the same age as my grandma was when she was a grandma, and I don't look like a grandma.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy, but Yeah, you know what? The times have changed, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so you
All
ready?
right, let's get into it. Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Our story today begins on a scorching hot day in June of 2011 in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, I didn't do any background on Knoxville, Tennessee, so I apologize. So, on this day, family and friends have gathered under the bright summer sun to celebrate what seems like a fairy tale union. Jason Corbett, a 34-year-old businessman from Ireland, he stands at the altar with tears in his eyes as he watches his beautiful bride, Molly Martins, walk down the aisle in a poofy white gown. The couple beams with joy as they exchange vows, surrounded by Jason's two young children who are approximately, and listen, I looked at all the articles and they range from the kids being 7 and 5 and 8 and 6, but you kind of get it. They're elementary school aged. The little boy's name is Jack, and he's the oldest, and the daughter's name is Sarah. And on this day, the couple seal their marriage with a kiss, ready to start a new chapter as a family. But guess what? I wouldn't be telling you this story today if everything was smooth sailing in paradise, because even on this joyous occasion, there was a little bit of tension. You see, Molly, the bride, she was hoping to make her motherhood official on this day as well. She had suggested that during the wedding, they should do an adoption ceremony as well, where she would formally adopt Jason's kids. Jason was like,
Jason's kid's wife or ex-wife or the baby mama?
I'm going to tell you here in a second.
Okay.
But listen, when she told Jason this, like, hey, I should adopt, she's dead. And I'll tell you what happened to her here in a second.
Yeah.
But Jason, hearing this from Molly, he was like, yeah, that's cute, honey, but we're not going to do that. This issue of adoption would end up being something that Molly wouldn't stop talking about. So what do you think about that?
Well, if the mom has passed and Molly is basically taking the role of the mother and like going to do everything, I can see why she wants to adopt these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why Jason would be upset about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you would, if you're going to marry somebody, you're going to want them to be like the mother of your kids, essentially, I would think.
Yeah. But you know what? I will say this. Legally speaking, if there's a formal adoption by the new spouse, if the dad were to die, then she takes the kids.
Right.
So if something were to happen where, you know, they were kind of having like a falling out or whatever it is, he dies, she takes the kids and she could basically keep them from the grandparents, the paternal grandparents and the maternal grandparents. So you're basically like, and it's really complex when you think about it, right?
You could do that, but man, if you're marrying somebody that you're worried about doing that, maybe you shouldn't be marrying them.
I know. So many layers to all of this. All right.
Yeah.
So we can feel the tension already, right? So after the wedding, the couple, they moved to North Carolina where Jason had gotten a job managing a packaging plant. Now remember, the couple met in Ireland. So they purchased a beautiful brick house on a quiet cul-de-sac, and Molly took on her role as stay-at-home mom. And it was a role that she was really excited for, and one that she had been preparing for several years, especially with Jason's kids. You see, before Molly, like you asked, there was Margaret Maggs Fitzpatrick. She was Jason's first wife and the mother to his two kids. Maggs died in 2006 of an asthma attack, leaving Jason to care for his two small children by himself, which wasn't an easy task. The little boy was 2 years old, and the baby daughter was like, I read that she was like a newborn. And remember, he was from and living in Ireland at the time that his wife died. So he decided to look for an au pair, someone who could help him with the kids while he was at work. And that's when Molly, a 24-year-old American girl from Knoxville, Tennessee, well, she decided she needed a change of scenery from the United States. Herself experiencing a broken engagement and a recent miscarriage, she decided to reinvent herself. So she packed up her belongings, she went to Ireland, and she interviewed for the position to care for Jason's kids. And she got the job. That's a big move. I don't know. I mean, talk about reinventing yourself, right? From day one,
Yeah.
Molly embraced Jason's kids as if they were her own. Within weeks of her arrival in Limerick, baby Sarah, then barely a year old, was reportedly already calling Molly mommy, and her brother Jack, only 3, well, he soon followed suit. To some, it was, a touching sign of how quickly the kids had bonded with their caretaker. But others, they were like, it's a little bit of a red flag. She is, at the end of the day, just the babysitter. Jason's relatives would later recall that Molly was almost unnaturally fixated on the children, noting how badly she wanted to officially be their mother. And this is long before her and Jason actually started dating.
Mm.
Now,
Hmm.
Jason himself was grateful for Molly's kids, or her help with the kids. And I guess with time, the two, because they were spending so much time together, they grew closer and closer. And eventually, they became a couple. And Jason proposed to Molly on Valentine's Day in 2010. The following year, they were married in that big June wedding that I talked about at the beginning.
Hmm.
But within 4 years of saying their I do's, Jason was dead and his
What?
father-in-law was holding a bloody baseball bat, and Molly was
Let
holding a bloody brick over Jason's body.
me go back really quick. Was she their au pair before the wife died? I missed that part. Sorry.
No. So remember, the wife died,
No.
and then she
And then
applied
he
for the
got the au
job.
pair.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So she never met Mags.
Okay.
By the time the family moved to North Carolina, the kids were, between the ages of like 6 and 8. Jason was working long hours, and Molly, the doting stepmom. Everything seemed fine. But Jason's family back in Ireland was a bit concerned because Molly wouldn't stop asking to adopt the kids. And according to what Molly's friends would later reveal, Jason's refusal to allow her to adopt the kids deeply frustrated her. It is said that Jason wanted to protect the memory of his late wife, and not surprisingly, he even included pictures of Mags, the ex-wife, in the house, or not the ex-wife, the now deceased wife in the house, and Molly was not a fan of that. In fact, here's one anecdote that in hindsight is a little bit chilling. Sarah, the little girl, she later said that when she was about 7 years old, she had this cherished framed photo of her birth mom, Mags, and her dad together on their wedding day. Well, one day, Molly smashed the photo, screaming at the little girl, "She is dead. I'm your mother. That woman is dead."
Oh my God.
Now let that sink in. This was a grown woman essentially trying to obliterate the memory of a deceased mother in this little child's mind.
Oh my God. That's terrible.
Yes. It's totally giving like those mommy dearest vibes, right?
Yeah.
It's an appalling thing to say to a child. And at the time, Sarah, the little girl, was so terrified that I don't, kids can kind of make these things up in their minds. But
Yeah.
when her dad got home, she was so scared to tell him about what actually happened that instead of telling him the truth, she basically just said like, "Hey, I dropped the picture and it broke."
Hmm.
Now, this incident wouldn't come to light until years later, but it does paint a disturbing picture of Molly's mentality. She wanted to be the only mom that the kids had. Other unsettling signs were popping up too. Molly had a habit of lying, sometimes about like little tiny trivial things, which made people uneasy, and sometimes it was about big things. For instance,
Hmm.
neighbors would later recall how Molly told elaborate stories. She once even implied to some acquaintances that she had given birth to Sarah, like that Sarah actually came from her body, letting them think that she was the biological daughter. Someone in the room
Hmm.
knew the truth, and they found it so disturbing that Molly was lying to everyone else.
Yeah,
Now,
that's weird.
that is totally weird. And I don't know, you kind of tend to wonder if like Jason had the same kind of feelings about like, this is a little bit like too much. You know what I mean? Now, in college, this is a really trivial thing, but it just goes to show you, and you can't quite tell if this girl's like serious or if she's kidding. But in college, she told one of her roommates, she had a picture on her desk or something, and she told her roommate that the picture in the frame was her sister who had died of cancer. But guess what?
Oh my God. She's like lying through her teeth. Like
Lying. Lying.
she has a problem lying. I know the type.
Really? That's disturbing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had a roommate one time in college that had a problem lying. Like she literally, when we were out of town, told us that the house got broken into, the cops came. She had like a whole story. And I went down to the police station because I was like, dude, I'm not staying here if the guy that broke into our house is still like on the run.
Yeah.
And no, did not happen. Like totally made it up.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And
That's like
that was just
scary.
one of like the many things. Like it was the same thing as Molly. Like she would just make things up all the time, even about like having cancer, and it was bizarre.
Mm-mm. Those people are
Mm.
like attention
That's there's
seekers.
Yeah, but there's got to be something in the brain
Has to
that's
be.
like, yeah, not triggering on all cylinders, you know.
Mm-mm. That's not normal. So listen, so Molly, that was a lie because she didn't even have a sister. She was like, no kidding, an only child. And get this. This is where I'm like, this is where I wonder, like, I'm like, is she kidding? Does she just have like a dry sense of humor? The picture in the frame actually was the one that came with the frame.
Oh my God. It was like, it
Okay.
was like the little like flimsy piece of paper.
Yes. Okay. So do you know these types of people? Because listen, that would crush my soul to buy a picture frame and actually put it out and still keep that picture in it. I actually have friends who will, no kidding, like they'll buy like those picture frames for the wall. It'll be like a set of 9 and they'll fill like 6 of them. And then the other ones, they will leave the like the picture that just came with the
What?
frame. Well, they don't do it on purpose. They just leave it there as a placeholder. But I'm like, does that not bother you? Like,
Like you don't know those people.
you don't know those people, and it's like weird. I'm like, take those out. But I guess I don't know. So you don't know anyone who's ever done that or who does that?
That leaves a picture of a nobody in there and puts it up.
Hmm.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know people like that, and it drives me insane. I am not that person. Mm-mm. All right. So let's go back to Molly. The couple got married in the summer of 2011, and by late 2014, early 2015, Jason was feeling the same way we're feeling about Molly, right? He told his family that he was thinking about leaving Molly and returning to Ireland with the kids. He wanted to raise his kids in his homeland. During this time, Jason had also updated his will, and in it, he named his sister and her husband as the kids' legal guardian if anything ever happened to him. When
Okay,
Molly learned,
he already had a feeling.
yes,
He already had something.
yep. And when Molly learned, like, first of all, you're not letting me adopt the kids, but now you have named someone else as their legal guardian if something happens to you, she was livid. She really felt that she should have legal rights to the kids should something happen to Jason. During this time, Molly would later claim that Jason was an abusive husband. She claimed emotional, verbal, and even physical abuse. She actually said that it went on for years, but it escalated as time went on. Molly said that Jason had a very vicious temper that no one knew about, and she said that he would choke her during arguments. Molly
Mm.
shared this with her father, Tom Martins, who would later say that Jason was a very controlling and abusive man. Although it's unclear if Tom personally witnessed this firsthand or just heard it from his daughter, Molly. Molly would later claim that she didn't leave Jason because she didn't want to lose the kids. Now, that's a lot to take in, right? If she's actually experiencing, and now I will say this, not everybody believes that he was abusive to Molly, but it's crazy to
Mhm.
think that those are not her biological kids and that she wouldn't leave because she doesn't want to leave them. All right. So let's talk about a specific date, Saturday, August 1st, 2015. That's actually 10 years ago. It's a typical hot North Carolina summer evening, and things start off utterly ordinary in the Corbett household. Earlier in the day, the Corbetts had engaged in a friendly neighborhood ritual where there was a few beers with neighbors in the driveway after everyone was mowing their lawns. That evening, Molly's parents, Tom and Sharon Martins, they came over at around 8:30 p.m. for a visit, and they spent the night. Tom Martins, who's Molly's father, was a 65-year-old retired FBI agent. He and his wife Sharon lived out of state back in Tennessee, but they would occasionally visit their daughter and their step grandkids in North Carolina. By all accounts, the family had a calm, pleasant night on August 1st. They ordered pizza, they relaxed, and eventually everyone went to bed without incident. But shortly after 3 o'clock in the morning, in the early hours of August 2nd, a chilling 911 call was placed from the Corbett residence. On the line was Tom Martins, sounding breathless and alarmed. Quote, "My son-in-law got in a fight with my daughter," he said. He also said, "I intervened and he's in bad shape. We need help. He's bleeding all over. I might have killed him." Here's a portion of that 911 call.
"He's bleeding all over and I may have killed him."
Was he drinking?
Yes, he had been drinking during the course of the day.
My partner's dispatching the ambulance and the officer while I get the information.
Okay.
All right. Are you right with him now?
I am.
How old is he?
How old is he? 39.
All right. Is he conscious at all?
No,
Is he breathing?
I can't tell.
All right. Tell me what happened. Did you hit him in the head or
I hit him in the head
with what?
with a baseball bat.
With a baseball bat.
Yes, ma'am. He was choking my daughter. He said, "I'm going to kill her."
All right. We are sending the paramedics to help you now. Where's the baseball bat at?
It's in the bedroom here with me.
Okay. Just don't touch it anymore, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Pump the chest hard and fast at least twice per second, 2 inches deep. Let the chest come all the way up between the pumps. We're going to do this 600 times or until help can take over. Count out loud so that I can count with you. I'll set a pace for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Faster if you can. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, take your daughter and back away and let them do their job.
Let them do their job.
Try and keep her calm, okay?
Okay.
Y'all did a good job.
Molly. Let them do their job. Okay, they're here now.
Okay. Can you take Molly out of the room?
Okay, Molly. She suggests we get out of the room.
Okay. Are you okay? As much as possible. I understand. As much as possible. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. All right. Law enforcement's on the way.
When sheriff's deputies arrived at the house in the pre-dawn darkness, they walked into a horror show. Later, one officer would describe it as one of the bloodiest crime scenes I've seen in a long time. Jason Corbett's blood was everywhere, spattered across the bedroom walls and the floor. They found Jason on the floor of the master bedroom, unresponsive and grossly injured. Paramedics quickly determined that he was beyond saving. Jason was pronounced dead from catastrophic head wounds. He was 39 years old. Inside that room were the two people who readily admitted that they had killed him. Molly, his 31-year-old wife, and Tom, his 65-year-old father-in-law, who just happened to be a retired FBI agent.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he was. He was a retired FBI agent. So this.
And why was he there also? And why would he be in the bedroom?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Wait. Okay. So they were taken. The pair, the dad and the daughter, were taken into custody at the scene. But notably, neither Molly nor Tom had any serious injuries themselves. Mind you, they are going to be claiming self-defense. But when they're arrested, they're like, "Hey, like, yeah, we killed him," but they have no like self-defense wounds or anything like that. And the fact that they didn't have any type of injuries would become very important later. So what exactly happened in that room? That's exactly what you just asked. According to Tom and Molly's immediate story to the police, it was all in self-defense. They gave their accounts to police that morning, painting a terrifying picture of Jason as the aggressor. This is what they said. Sometime in the middle of the night, Jason and Molly got into a vicious argument. Molly would claim that it started when Jason's daughter, Sarah, woke up in the middle of the night from a nightmare and Molly went to comfort her, an act that allegedly made Jason furious at being disturbed. So basically, he was pissed off because he was awakened in the middle of the night and Molly had to go take care of the daughter. Molly says that Jason began attacking her in the bedroom. Now, there is no indication that the kids are anywhere around when this is happening. And as she was being attacked, she says that he choked her and threatened to kill her. Tom, he says, he's sleeping in the guest bedroom downstairs when all of a sudden he heard a commotion upstairs. He heard shouting, thuds, and he had grabbed an aluminum baseball bat that he just happened to have purchased for his grandson Jack and his granddaughter Sarah as a gift. Yeah, that's right. He had coincidentally purchased this Little League aluminum baseball bat as a present, and now he wielded it as a weapon. By the way, Tom does get up, but his wife and Molly's mom, she continues to sleep, which is completely odd to me. And I want to know what you think. I feel like if I were at my daughter's house, even if she's a grown adult, and I hear a commotion involving my daughter, especially if it's her husband is also involved, I'd be up there like in their faces, like, what is going on? I wouldn't just keep sleeping, right? Like, if it's enough
to the
for
point
my...
where it's like enough. Yeah. If it's enough for somebody to like go and say like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I think we're all getting up and saying like, what the hell's going on around here?
Yeah, your husband grabbed the bat and you're like, I'm just going to keep sleeping.
And why would he grab a bat? Like, I don't know if you grab a bat if your loved ones are arguing. I don't think you go to that extreme. I think you go up there and go like, you guys, like, enough is enough. We're not arguing anymore.
Yeah. And, just to play devil's advocate here a little bit, I mean, it's possible that I'm not sure if he heard the voices or what he heard, but if you hear like a commotion, you could be like, oh my God, someone broke in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So just,
yes. And then for sure you would grab a bat.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in the movies all the time.
And especially if you're an FBI agent, because I think they're always on like alert to something happening.
Yeah, especially if you hear like a thud and you hear like a commotion, you're like, what the hell did someone break in? I mean, I don't know what the voices were saying or what he heard, but I mean, just to play devil's advocate, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So Tom says that as soon as he heard that, he grabbed the bat, he rushed to the master bedroom to find Jason in a rage. And he says that when he like barged in, he saw Jason strangling Molly. Tom shouted at Jason, like, you need to stop. But Jason wouldn't. Fearing for his daughter's life, Tom says that he swung the bat and struck Jason, and that he did that to get him off of Molly. However, I guess it had a different effect. Jason was a strong 6'2" man, and he didn't go down easily. In Tom's version, instead of falling to the ground and stopping the attack, Jason turned on him despite being hit. Jason allegedly fought back, even wrestling the bat away from Grandpa at some point. Tom says that he fell to the ground during the scuffle. Meanwhile, Molly was like, what the heck? This guy was attacking me. Now he's attacking my dad. So she grabbed a brick that she just happened to keep on her nightstand. It's a roughly 3-pound paving stone that she used as kind of a decoration. She later explained it was a sentimental piece from a family home from a long time ago. Regardless, Molly claimed that with her father down and Jason now like in the position of power and swinging the bat, well, she had to defend her dad. So she smashed Jason in the head with the brick to protect her dad. After that, Tom says that he got hold of the bat again. So Jason gets hit with the brick. He's able to take the bat away. And both he and Molly keep hitting Jason until he finally goes down and stops moving. Molly described it as a complete blur. She said she didn't remember what the heck happened after she grabbed the brick, just that Jason finally collapsed and eventually he stopped moving. With Jason lying bloody and motionless, Tom then dialed 911 to get help. And we heard that call, right?
Yeah.
So that was the core of the story. Jason was the aggressor and they acted in self-defense to save Molly's life and Tom's own life during a sudden, violent domestic violence fight. In her first interview that morning, a tearful Molly insisted, I didn't do anything wrong. I defended my father and I defended myself. She said, I had no choice because Jason would have killed myself or he would have killed my dad. She says, if I hadn't done that, I believe that he would be dead and that I would also have been killed. And she's talking about her and her dad, right?
Yeah.
So, you have this retired FBI agent. I keep bringing that back because I feel like we always, we look at the person and their career. But investigators, they hear this and they're like, okay, everything they say actually sounds reasonable. And, you've actually interviewed a lot of investigators and cops as well, but domestic disturbances can explode in an instant. It can go literally from like, put this away to like someone's shot and dead.
If I walked in and my daughter's husband had his hands around her neck, I also would go Richter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 100%. Right. So the cops hear the story. They're like, okay. So Tom Martin's, like I said, respected FBI agent. He certainly sounded credible and he's describing this life or death struggle. And so early on, it seemed that the sheriffs on scene were not immediately treating Molly and Tom as murder suspects, right? They were thinking like this was done in self-defense. But as daylight broke on August 2nd, the crime scene itself began to tell a very different story from the one that Molly and Tom were spinning. First off, Jason's injuries were absolutely brutal, far more than what you might see in a momentary struggle, right? The autopsy later revealed that Jason had at least 10 distinct impact sites on his skull, with a minimum of 12 separate blows to the head. His skull was literally crushed in multiple places, and parts of it were fractured so badly that pieces of bone were completely detached from when the medical examiner examined his body, his skull, right? The forensic pathologist, Dr. Craig Nelson, said that the extent of Jason's skull fractures were akin to injuries seen in a high-speed car crash, or even when someone falls from a very tall height. It's not what you would see in an average domestic scuffle, right? There were 2 large, deep lacerations on the back of Jason's head, on the back, indicating repeated blows in that area. In fact, one gash on the back of the head showed almost no bleeding, suggesting that it was inflicted after Jason's heart had already stopped, which means that the struggle was over. This guy was dead.
And it was overbeating.
Exactly.
Overkill.
Exactly. Yeah. Overkill. The weapons used were clearly that aluminum bat that was supposed to be a gift and the concrete brick, and they were both recovered. And of course, they had Jason's blood and his hair on them. Blood spatter analysts would later show that multiple blows were struck while Jason was already low to the ground or on the floor. In other words, it was an onslaught, not like a 1-2 punch defensive move, right? And remember how Tom claimed that Jason had wrestled the bat away? Well, forensic tests found Tom's own boxer shorts, because he was in his pajamas, so he's wearing boxer shorts, and that they were speckled with high velocity blood spatter on the front with tiny droplets that land on a person who's in close proximity. And that the pattern on Tom's shorts also indicated that he was above Jason when the blood hit him, which was consistent with the guy standing over him and bringing the bat down over his head, meaning kind of up and down.
Oh my God, that is terrible.
And the crazy part was that they also found blood spatter on the inside of his boxer shorts, which it's kind of like the swing down and then the splatter went up his shorts and then back up. Yeah, so it was, I struggle with this story, and we'll hear a little bit more about it, and I'll tell you why. I struggle with this because when you're in a life or death situation, it's possible that you do black out and you're just pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding overkill. Because your body is if I don't kill this person, then whatever, and it's 12 blows, 10 blows, that seems like a lot. But when you think about it, when you're chopping something down, it's not that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, listen, I think if you're in that situation, you can get yourself to you just kind of overdo it because you're in your own weird head. Also, he's a trained FBI agent, so I feel like he should know how to get himself to A to B to C without freaking killing somebody,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. So the forensic evidence as they're investigating, right? And when they're looking at it, it doesn't jibe with the quick intervention and like, hey, we just did what was necessary to stop and neutralize the threat. It suggested perhaps a prolonged, vicious beating. And then there is the matter of injuries or the lack thereof on the alleged victims, right? So Molly and Tom walk in and they look like they don't have any injuries. If Jason had truly been pummeling and choking Molly to the point that she feared for her life, you would expect Molly to show some signs of bruising on her neck, maybe some red marks, defensive wounds on her arms, or something like that. Now, later, they do indicate that she does have some sort of marks on her eyes, potentially indicating that she may have been like choked or strangled, but that doesn't come out until much later. By most accounts, Molly had no significant visible injuries when she was examined. Tom, of course, unscathed. Neither required any medical attention. They just walked in and they walked right back out. And this struck investigators as highly suspicious. As the DA later pointed out to a defense expert in court showing side-by-side photos of Molly and Tom, they basically were like, look, these people were allegedly attacked and they had zero like marks on their body versus Jason. I mean, he was battered beyond recognition, and the sheer disparity defies the notion of a fair fight. So let's talk toxicology. Tom told police that Jason was drunk that night. However, when they ran his blood alcohol level, his level was only like a 0.02, which doesn't scream drunk, right?
Mm-mm.
But there was something else in his system, and it was called trazodone, which is an antidepressant often used as a sleep aid as well. And when they found this suggested to investigators that Jason could have been groggy or even asleep when the altercation began. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not like he's raging. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another red flag for the investigators was the timing and the demeanor of that 911 call. In the Netflix documentary, A Deadly American Marriage, law enforcement officials noted that Tom Martin's call sounded odd and it sounded staged. Perhaps it was the almost formal way that he reported the incident or the slight delay in calling. I mean, but also he's an FBI agent, so he's not going to be all hectic, crazy.
Yeah, right.
You know, paramedics and deputies observed that Jason's body was cool to the touch. So they got there within minutes and the guy was no longer warm. Like his body was already
dead.
Cooling, right? Rigor mortis was already subtly settling in, which suggested a little bit of a delay between the time of death and when 911 was actually called, right? The question was, did Molly and her dad spend some time concocting their story before involving authorities? We can't say for sure, but first responders, they just had this gut feeling that something was off. And then there were the two kids, right? Jack and Sarah. They were in the house that night. And let's not forget, you know, the mom, right? By luck, though, the children didn't witness what was happening. They were fast asleep in their room. In the immediate aftermath, these poor kids lost their father and they saw their stepmother and grandfather hauled away by police. Mm. Initially, in the shock of it all, the children echoed Molly's account. They told a social worker that, yes, they had seen their dad be mean to Molly sometimes. Now, remember, these are little kids who had just been through immense trauma and they were now being questioned. They said what Molly had coached them to say, that their dad had anger issues and that he had hurt Molly. But as time passed and the kids felt safer, both Jack and Sarah recanted those initial statements. About 9 months later, they told authorities that Molly had instructed them to lie. They said, our dad actually wasn't abusive. In fact, he was a loving dad, and they had never seen him do the things that Molly was claiming. It became clear that Molly had been priming the children to back her story from the get-go. This revelation would become crucial evidence in this case. So, given all these factors, the overwhelming forensic evidence, the lack of injuries to the Martins, the shifty stories coaching the kids, well, investigators grew convinced that Jason Corbett's death was not self-defense gone wrong. It looked to them to be murder. On January 4th, 2016, after several months of investigation, a grand jury formally indicted Molly Martins Corbett and Thomas Martins. They were indicted on charges of second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter. North Carolina authorities were essentially saying, we believe you two intentionally beat Jason to death. And with that, Molly and Tom were arrested. After some legal maneuvering, the case headed to trial in the summer of 2017. In July and August of 2017, Molly and Tom stood trial together in Lexington, North Carolina, for the murder of Jason Corbett. Now, I don't know about you, Tab, but I don't think I've ever heard of a father-daughter duo ever being tried together in one trial.
Together, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Did they get up in their own defense? I feel like he would. I feel like the FBI agent would be like, oh, I'm going to take the stand.
Well, the prosecutor's case portrayed the Martins as a deadly duo who conspired to eliminate Jason, driven by Molly's fear of losing her stepkids and Tom's fierce loyalty to his daughter. Remember, she's an only child. The defense stuck to the story of self-defense against an abusive husband. It was a gripping trial, pitting forensic evidence against emotional testimony, and it garnered international media attention because, hello, the victim is from Ireland. And so his family and friends are all watching closely. The prosecution laid out a compelling narrative of premeditation, or at the very least, excessive force well beyond self-defense. They also pointed out how Molly was known to be erratic with her weird lies and her obsession with adopting the kids. Mm-hmm. The prosecution hammered on the forensic evidence. 12 blows to the head is not self-defense. They called it overkill. They even pointed out how the pattern of wounds showed Jason was attacked from behind, and even that the attack continued after he was already incapacitated. The lead district attorney famously held up photographs of Jason's shattered skull and asked the courtroom, "Does this look like self-defense?" The defense, meanwhile, they tried to put Jason on trial as much as Molly and Tom. They portrayed Jason as a ticking time bomb of rage. They brought up every claim of abuse that they could. Molly's statements that Jason choked her on a regular basis, anecdotes of Jason's temper, the children's initial interviews corroborating Molly's abuse allegations. And listen, the defense fought hard to get those in. In fact, one of the big battles in this trial was whether the jury could see the videotaped interviews of Jack and Sarah from right after the killing. Remember, in those videos, as I mentioned, the kids, under Molly's influence, they were on her side. Yeah. They said that their dad was abusive, right?
Right.
So the defense wanted to get those videos in. But the trial judge ultimately excluded those tapes as hearsay, reasoning like, listen, the kids are available to testify live, though the kids did not actually testify in person, right? But the judge did not allow the initial interviews to come in, and now the kids had changed their tune, right? The defense did have Molly herself testify, describing years of fear living with an abusive husband. Molly cried on the stand, saying she had no choice that night and that Jason had been strangling her, threatening to kill her when her dad intervened. Tom also testified. Tab, you were right. Tom also
did. I knew it. I was like, if he's trained, like he's gonna be like, I can handle this.
Exactly. Tom also testified in his own defense, lending his law enforcement credentials to the story that he only did what any father would do to save his own daughter. There was one striking moment. The prosecution revealed that Tom Martins hated his son-in-law. A coworker of Tom's testified that Tom had referred to Jason as that son-in-law. I hate him. And he said this sometime before the incident. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, come on. I feel like a lot of fathers probably hate their son-in-laws. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like hate is a big word.
That is. And you know what? Dads are usually pretty chill. It's usually like the moms.
Yeah.
The mother-in-laws.
I don't know. The mother-in-laws don't like the daughter-in-laws. Yeah, I think that. But then you wonder, why did he hate him?
Why? Why did he hate him? Maybe because his daughter really wanted to adopt these kids and he wanted to do anything possible. Like he was like, I don't understand. Why is this guy not letting my daughter adopt these kids? Like, I don't know. There's like a
Yeah.
lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when the jury heard this, it certainly didn't look good for Tom. It did, at the end of the day, suggest a possible motive of long simmering dislike. We'll never know. After a dramatic 2-week trial, the case finally went back to the jury. Oh my gosh, this is, I hate, since we started the alternate, like, and this was before when I used to, do cases in the military. But whenever the case goes back to the jury, there's like nothing else you can do. There's like a pit in your stomach. And at that point, it's
I
just
know.
like waiting.
It's a waiting game.
You're like, what are they talking about? Like, you know what I mean? So the good thing about this case is that they didn't deliberate for very long. They deliberated for 3 hours and they reached a verdict. Both Molly and her father, Tom, were found guilty of second-degree murder. In August of 2017, the judge sentenced both the father and daughter to 20 to 25 years in prison. That's a long time.
Yeah, that is a long. I mean, it is a long time, especially because I mean, do you think that they murdered him?
I don't think it was like premeditated in that like he was sleeping and they attacked him while he slept. Um and like I said, I feel like self-defense, like there is such a thin line when you're talking about self-defense and like what is like this is something that I could potentially see as be something called we like to call imperfect self-defense, where you could have hit him twice and he went down, but sometimes you hit him twice and it just makes him more mad.
Mm-hmm. What time was this call to the 911?
3 o'clock in the morning.
So and Molly is saying that they were not asleep yet. They didn't go to sleep.
They were asleep. Remember, they were asleep, and then the little girl woke up in the middle of the night, and then he got mad. Jason allegedly got mad because his sleep was disturbed, and then after Molly came back,
Right.
kind of settling the little girl, he attacked her because he was pissed.
I don't know. That doesn't sound right either.
Well, listen, there's more to this story. This story is not yet over, right?
Oh, okay.
I know. It seemed for everyone, justice has been served for Jason. I mean, his family from Ireland, including the 2 kids who were, at this point, they were back in Ireland,
Yeah.
their aunt, Tracy, and they were in the courtroom and everybody was like so relieved, like, oh my goodness, thank goodness. The kids who were now orphaned, they wholeheartedly believed that the stepmother and grandfather
Yeah.
murdered their dad and they wanted them to be punished. But wait, this case was far from over. What followed was a winding road through the appellate system, and while most appeals are denied, the Martins won their appeal. After their 2017 convictions, Molly and Tom Martins quickly appealed, citing jury misconduct and judicial errors. Especially, remember that exclusion of that key evidence, the kids' videotape statements?
Yeah.
Well, through a 2018 motion for a new trial, though a 2018 motion for a new trial was denied, the case made its way up the courts, right? There's like various appellate court levels. And in February of 2020, the North Carolina Court of Appeals overturned the convictions. A year later, the state Supreme Court agreed Molly and Tom deserved a new trial. The justices for the Supreme Court found that excluding the children's initial statements deprived the pair of a fair defense. It was a crushing blow to Jason's family. After 4 years in prison, Molly and Tom were released on bond in April of 2021 to await a new trial. As prosecutors prepared to try the case again, tensions escalated. Molly's new legal team was ready to go scorched earth, suggesting outrageously that Jason had murdered his first wife, Mags, who, remember, I told you had died of an asthma attack.
Yeah.
So they, no kidding, went back, they interviewed people, and they were like, hey, she didn't actually die of an asthma attack. She died because she had been like choked, and then she like died sometime later.
What? Is that
Girl,
true?
uh, that's what they were suggesting.
Okay.
Suggesting, excuse me. Jason's family heard this and they were livid, but the
Yeah, they're
defense
like,
strategy
no.
was clear. They were going to bring this up, or they were trying to bring this up in this new trial. They wanted to paint Jason as a violent abuser to bolster the self-defense claim.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's unclear whether the judge would have allowed that in, right? Because that's kind of like a big statement. By 2023, both sides faced some tough choices. Retrials, as we know with the Karen Reed retrial, are unpredictable. We don't know what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
Now, the prosecution had a strong case, but they risked a second jury buying the defense's narrative, especially with the introduction of the kids' initial interviews, right? And this time, Molly, which was weird, I don't understand why she wouldn't have brought this up in the first trial, but we finally learned that Molly had secretly been recording Jason. There were audio recordings where he would say mean things to her. Now, we have to all remember, right? When you're recording someone, you know that the recording is taking place, right? So you can control your emotions because you don't want
Yeah, right.
that to be discovered. But the other person has no clue, so you can egg them on, you can do whatever it is. So it's a little bit unfair when only one person knows that they're being recorded, right? With this new information, the prosecution is like, shit, now we have Jason, who is being, kind of a douchebag on the audio recordings, and they fear they're going to potentially lose the case if this is now introduced. So in October of 2023, they strike a plea deal.
A plea deal. I knew it.
And Tom,
Although I want to hear the recordings because I want to see what kind of douchebaggery he is. Like, how
douchebaggery, that's
bad was
a good
it?
word. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, you can listen to some of it on that Netflix documentary.
Okay.
So you'll hear it. I mean, and it's like I said, you listen to it and you listen to it with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. But so Molly and Tom decide to plead no contest to voluntary manslaughter, acknowledging the state had enough evidence to convict without admitting guilt. The charges were downgraded from murder, second-degree murder, and both sides avoided kind of a gamble of a retrial. At sentencing in November, Jack is now 19 and Sarah is now 17. These are the kids. And they flew in from Ireland and they delivered powerful victim impact statements. They confronted Molly directly, revealing years of emotional and physical abuse even before their father's death. Sarah recalled being starved, manipulated, and lied to, once even told by Molly that her father had killed her birth mother.
Mm-hmm.
This lady is she's just really aggravating.
Mm-hmm.
The little girl, who's now 17 years old, she said, quote, Molly Martins tried to destroy me and my family. Jack, the son, recalled how Molly was manipulative and dangerous, pleading with the court to ensure that she could never hurt another child again. Their words were devastating, and it made clear how much had been stolen from them by Molly. Jason's family urged the court to impose the harshest sentence possible. But in the end, the judge sentenced Molly and Tom to 51 to 74 months, which is just over it's between 4 and 6 years. And remember, they had already spent 4 years in
Yeah.
prison.
So did they get out?
Yeah.
They
Well,
walk free.
not right away. With time already
Okay.
served, they ended up serving about 7 or 8 months in jail, and then they were let go. To Jason's family, it felt like a big slap on the wrist. And there was one Irish paper who put it this way. They said, they will walk free from prison within months. Jason's family serves a life sentence of grief.
Mm-hmm.
By June of 2024, Molly and Tom were out of prison. She is now in her 40s and Tom is in his 70s. Jack and Sarah, now back in Ireland, they live back in Ireland with their Aunt Tracy. They have finally reclaimed the last name Lynch in the aunt's honor. Despite everything, they are determined to move forward and to ensure the world never forgets what happened to their father. if there's any silver lining, it's that these kids have survived an unimaginable ordeal and they have reclaimed their voices. They ultimately spoke their truth, and they were a part of that Netflix documentary, which is,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit hard to watch because they just have been through so much,
Yeah.
And listen, if you want to hear or watch, and learn more about the case and everyone who's involved, I do highly recommend that you check out that Netflix documentary called The Deadly American Marriage. On it, you hear from the kids, you actually hear from Tom and Molly Martins. They participate in this documentary. You hear from investigators. You get to see some of Tom and Molly's initial interviews with the police. You get to see some of the crime scene photos. I mean, you get to see pretty much just about everything. It was
Yeah.
definitely a good watch.
All
And
right. Oh, that's I mean, the kids are ultimately the ones that are the victims here. Of course, Jason is a victim, but hopefully Jason is in heaven. Um and free of all this earthly chaos. But
crazy.
yeah, crazy, sad,
I know.
sad. And these guys are out. But I will say, like, I question it a little bit. Like, what? I don't know.
You question what part of it?
I just question, like, I think Molly's like a total lunatic and liar, but I question if, like, how it all went down. Like, I question if it was premeditated. I question if it was just like a fluke and the dad was like already hated Jason and then was like, this mother effer, like, is now doing this to my daughter. I'm going to beat his ass. And
Yeah.
then, of course, overkilled him, but also he had like rage against him for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, total. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many parts to this story. I do, I feel very mommy dearest, like very, she really wanted those kids. I don't know. I kind of like feel for the
Yeah.
kids. She just kind of seemed a little bit of a psychopath. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, thank you for that, Margot. That was nice that you told the story this week. Thank you. And if
you.
you want more of me, then check out patreon.com/housewives of true crime or Clink Clink Club. That comes out on Thursdays. And last month I did a true crime bonus on Tupac, which was really good. And so this month, I am doing a true crime on Biggie Smalls. So
Oh.
I'm following it up. And it's interesting because this all went down at the end of my high school years.
Uh-huh.
And there was just, I mean, there's a lot of talk and whatever, but we didn't really have the internet capabilities that we do now. So a lot of it just was like what you heard through the grapevine. So being able to do like deep dives into what happened
Yeah.
now is pretty fascinating. And there's a lot of information out there now. So
And
anyways, that will be my
arrested
next crime.
recently, right? For one of the murders?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, for Tupac. So it's that I will continue following up on that. But yeah,
Yes.
so if you want to check it out, that's coming up in the month of August. And then every Thursday I just kind of talk shop about current events, what's going on. I take a little deeper dive into my life and things that I wouldn't say on the regular. So hopefully I will see you there. And if you are watching on YouTube, you see all of my beautiful products up here. And this is a line called Five Crimes. It's all natural. It's skincare and I use it all. And this one in particular, the scalp serum is amazing. It helps my hair grow. And actually I just cut my hair, but my hair guy was like, dude, your hair is so freaking thick. I'm like, well, it's because I use Five Crimes hair serum. So there you
Yeah.
go. And I used to have such thin hair, like so thin. I thought that my hair was like by the time I was 60 was going to be like not there at all. But no, not anymore.
Look at that.
So you can go to fivecrimes.com. That's FIVECRIMES.com. And I think that's all for today. So until Thursday, if you're on the Clink Clink Club, or next Monday, and check out the alternate.
Yes.
We just dropped a few episodes there, and they're good ones. So check us out on the alternate
Burger. We
podcast.
just did Idaho. And then you finished up
Koberger.
that case. Did you tell them that you finished up that case that you guys had covered a few years ago?
Yeah, Crystal Rogers
Right.
finished
Yep.
up that. And then deep dived into the Koberger, and then played the, you guys will hear the entire sentencing, which is just, I mean, if you have not heard it, please go to the alternate. It's impactful. It really is. All right, clink, clink.
Clink, clink.